Hello there. Yeah, coming in today to start a little round of things that I've been meaning to do and going into where I've found the information that I have about Scientology and also some of that information itself. So, sources, methods, and going over some tidbits to try to get into uh, some of what some of the people in these buildings might be thinking, what they've been exposed to, what the survivors have been exposed to, so that more of us in the protest community and the general public can have a better idea of how maybe to communicate with these folks. So hopefully I'm audible. This is a new setup, trying out the levels at my desk here. Don't know if it's working. Ex Mormon Psych Ward. Hey, great name. Good to see you there, Nash. Sadie A. Kyle Vanderwalker. All right. Good to see you in. Yeah, I found my conversations with survivors and this information that I've read either through the books or the HCO bulletins or policy letters, so HCOBs or PLs, has given me some more insight into how exactly somebody might get trapped. And as much as I've read into this, I've seen similarities of other systems of thought control and other cults or even maybe um, philosophical systems that may embroil you in highly technical language in order to form in your mind the group idea or the group identity, the group idea or perspective on the world, or the general group identity. Martha, great to see you there. I heard a peek. That had to be a peek. Great to see you. Hope you're well. Yeah. So, something trying to be more informational, a little more sedate. And part of the idea is hopefully, since I don't have a lived experience being exposed to this as a serious thing in my family, none of my family members tried to get me into this stuff. No, so not being exposed on this level, I only have a certain kind of understanding of this material and only really could. And I hope to start a dialogue with different people over their lived experience of this material and what it means, how they came across it at first, what it meant to them then, how their ideas of these ideas as presented changed over time with lived experience. So this series I hope to include. I think it's going to be a lot of HCOPLs and Ps because the rest of the stuff. I mean, it references this system, but as far as I can tell, the things that actually govern the lives of Scientologists and are all of the restrictions that we are protesting against, generally all of them are contained there. I mean, of course, there are exceptions, but I think just not all. Yeah, generally all. That's a terrible phrase. Uh, I would say a whole heck of a lot of them, a whole heck of a lot of the issues that I'm trying to focus on, I found contained in these policy letters, and I've tried to ask questions from survivors, and as far as I can tell, they're in agreement that a lot of the nasty stuff is there. So, um, yeah, so I hope to bring people up, bring people on, other folks friends of all of ours, to go into more of this and more in depth. Yeah, let me know within this what you might want to see or what you're thinking about that. Um, let's see. So, because it seems to me, um, I think this could serve as a resource for more people that are getting into this. Um, I know, when I was reaching into this community, I'd already had a fair amount of knowledge about Scientology as it was an interest of mine. Um, but more of this information I think would be more helpful. So let's see. Today I was going to go over the basic Scientology picture book version 1. Now, there are several versions of this book. This one, I believe, is released in the 1970s, and then there were a couple editions in the 80s, and I believe a last one in the early 1990s. And they lengthened it, they improved the graphics, they tried to include more of the ideas and teachings. Yeah, what Liz has all of them in hard copy for you. Yes, yeah, that's right, Pearl. Yeah, I'm looking forward to going over those. This is handy in PDF form for the purposes of displaying it, but actually having the things in your hand is another thing. I'm looking forward to that. Thanks for the reminder. So yeah, let's start at the beginning, y'all. Let's see if this works. Add to stage. Hi. Hi. I'm Basic. The Basic Scientology Picture Book, Volume 1. And underneath there it says a visual aid to a better understanding of man and the material universe. Now, I tried to keep myself from reading this whole thing. I skimmed some of the images so that it's going to kind of be a reaction, a half reaction from, again, a never-end protester. Even though maybe that title is becoming a little ill-worn. Yeah. Okay. The typeface. Yes. This lettering. Thanks for pointing that out, Pearl. You're wonderful. You're a wonderful co-host. You're keeping me within my own thoughts, because it was one of my initial reactions to this was that the lettering was really threatening. It was sinister, and I think Pearl said it reminded her of the Anarchist Cookbook or something like it, and I definitely have to agree. As a child, I would look at this and think that there was something like darkly dynamic going on in here, and I think that's actually true. That's so. And again, it's not a children's book. It's not advertised as a children's book. This is a picture book for adults. But of a certain sort. And I wonder, see, this edition to me, and before we get into it, it seems like this one is more geared, aimed out the flower child generation. Of course it would be. It's the time and place in which this would be happening. So it's aimed at them. And the artwork is of that kind, and they're get into a bunch of spacey concepts. I don't know if kind of reminds me of our Crumb, but a lot of yeah, bad ideas inside. Very good. So yeah, a visual aid to a better understanding of man and the material universe. So that's the cover. Let's not judge the entire book by it, even though I just did. Okay, so page 1A1. Here we go. So this is how it would fold out. Um, so let's see. Can I zoom? Let's let's look at this first little bit here. Okay. So all right. Yeah. A definition. So we've heard this. The scio meaning science or knowledge, and ology meaning the study of. Uh, yeah, so the study of knowledge, there are already fields of study of different kinds of knowledge. Uh, the knowledge of things as they are, beingness, ontology, and epistemology are these two fields. And they were already well established in philosophy for a very, very long time. So this would, I would say, this was unnecessary. Hey, Stony Baloney, good to see you in there. Let's see. Let's see. I'll post it as a downloadable file. How about use this as a coloring book? Yeah, sure. Okay. So afterwards, I'll try to throw this up on a drive, and I'll put a link in the description. That's a great idea. Thank you very much, Martha. So yeah, whoops. Applied religious philosophy, it says it is. A bunch of things say that they're applied religious philosophy, but I don't think any is kind of stridently as Scientology insists that it is that, because it doesn't appear to be a religion very much. And they were attracting people on the basis of self-help, so you could kind of convert people by, kind of half in, half out, foot in one world, foot in the other. Yeah. So a bunch of gobbledygook that we know. So one of the statements here, so it's an applied philosophy. It says all this. So there is something to learn, know, and use in Scientology. Now, this tries to imply that there aren't things to learn outside of Scientology. That Scientology is where the learning does happen, and the knowing and the use. Okay. So in order to learn something, one must have an idea of how to study. Certainly. But again, they're implying that you don't know how to study, nor do other people outside of Scientology. And so we can be your intermediary, liaison to all these study techniques. And guess what? We have a book. So we're about to come across our first image here. So there has to be something there to study, right? And so when I saw this image, this being the first picture book image, yeah, the first picture book image is the TR question. Maybe you've heard some of the some of the survivors say things about do fish swim and do birds fly, which are meant like orienting questions. So okay, so this implies that training routine. This picture, to me, it does. And the idea that one does not know it already, right? Okay, so yeah, you already know how to play jazz, or you know how to sculpt. Let's see. What are y'all saying? Let's see. I need to make this larger over here so I can see what y'all are doing. Let's see. Yeah. There, now I can read it. Okay. All right. I love Calvin and Hobbes. You guys are talking to me. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that could be Nemo. Very, very good, astute observation there. Okay. So again, in Scientology, there is something to study. It's like they are within the first 2 pages trying to cordon you off from all other modes of study, as if there isn't anything there. There's something to study, and that implies that outside of Scientology, there is not. Man's relationship to the universe, who he is, what he's doing, and the laws of life, right? So they've they're the very wizards themselves who can like direct the the celestial bodies and command the elemental forces. And honestly, that after a time, that is what they will claim in a, messed. If you've got messed type abilities, that's what we're talking about. Real Marvel Universe stuff. All right. So, yeah, yeah. Corn, what up? Good to see you. All right, all right. Yeah. Yeah, no, seriously, Martha, you're right. This has a real R. Crumb kind of thing. They are going for the groovy set here. So let's see. Oh, whoops, whoops. So in this mode, it kind of flips down. Gosh, golly gee whiz. So let's let's try to move out. Sorry, guys. I'm figuring out how to do this. Okay, there we go. So I have to get up to this kind of size, and then it will page. So man does have a definable relationship to the universe. There are laws to life. One can have a choice about his own actions. These things are taught in Scientology. They are taught in Scientology and not exclusively in Scientology. And the thing is, you'll get folks that are desperate washing up upon the shores of island Scientology, its own prison planet, and who are in a state where they are desperate for answers and for somebody to show them a better way than what they've done, anything just to help them. And these overt statements of we have the only answer can be very, very, very seductive. Uh, I know in my broken moments, I'm definitely looking for that. I'm looking for for some absolution or respite from whatever it is that I'm feeling. And I've found over time for myself that if I can't do that for myself, uh, I'm wasting my time looking for it externally, because it won't last. Even if somebody helps you with it, and in the immediate moment, these things help, but the work in therapy or any other place has to be yours, and I feel better owning it. So, and I feel more in control. So, moving on, next page. Yes. So, I mean, we're going right into now Scientology lessons and jargon. So the first barrier, block, stoppage, and obstacle. So your stoppages, right, to learning is the idea that you know it already. People will say, well, I must know all about life because I'm living. Does a passenger know about all about aeroplanes? Okay, so this is assuming that people aren't awe-inspired by maybe the immensity of things at all. I think this is pretty cynical about human existence. That I mean, people do claim expertise in a lot of things that they do not know. Uh, but more often than not, I find humble people to say, "Oh, that isn't for me." Oh, or to say about themselves, I think probably inaccurately, I can't possibly do that. That's not my kind of thing. Um, so this already assumes like arrogance in all people, and that needs to be reformed. So right, if they knew all about cars, then they wouldn't have problems with cars, right? And so by extension, they're saying you don't know about life, you don't know about the universe. We do. So you better get learned. Maybe it's going to cost you some stuff. And so it's all about knowing and not knowing, and which can get into, which is a real thing, fixed opinions. So these hard ideas that we have about people or things, prejudices, preconceived notions that we use to protect ourselves. Generally people form these ideas in order to protect themselves from things that they find to be threatening or harmful, or that they just don't know about, so that they don't know what the consequences are. And so they'll fill in the gap of information with anything. And so we're trying to illustrate here that this person is so overwhelmed. They think this about, their kids and their dogs, and this is a terrible thing, and you should probably come into Scientology for some fixing. And again, I think this is really cynical about human beings. It's reducing them. It's showing maybe a common mechanism or tendency in human beings, and then exploiting it. And so taking the basic concepts of self-help and psychology, and I think overtly showing you that they're going to use it to pick your pocket from the beginning, by making you feel terrible about yourself. And that I think, like the concept of original sin, um they're showing you, well, like the personality test shows you, you all have a ruin, you're all ruined, you're all broken, and only Scientology can fix you. So yeah, what you got here? Yeah, kind of a sexist inference that chicks don't know about cars, for real. And yeah, 1971, I'm sure this was a prevalent attitude, and you could way more easily get away with that. Very, very astute as always, Martha. Thank you very much. Thanks for being here. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, 5-star lettering. So, yeah, when we see a person having trouble with children, we know they have fixed opinions with children. No, no, we don't. Life is overwhelming, and sometimes you have the reaction to the overwhelming stimulus as the overwhelmed person, but you know better. You're not that person that's having a human reaction. And I guess so. Having fixed opinions, it could be translated to having a temporary exasperation at your children. And it's also training people, if you believe that, it's training people to be reflexively and pretty harshly, universally judgmental of others. So they can't see. I've learned all of this stuff. If you're a Scientologist and you've gone through a few of these courses, I've learned all of this stuff. Why can't people see that they have all these fixed opinions and they're broken, and they don't know that they don't know, so that they need to know? Aren't you curious? They might ask. Yeah, what's up, Marina? Yeah, yeah. Women get hysterical. Yeah, the very term hysterical, an outmoded psychological term, which obviously it uh, refers to uh, female reproductive organs and the hormones produced therein, being a curse upon women, that drives them to these acts that, I don't know, none of us can deal with, that necessitated Freud having his whole practice. So um I mean, it was, a lot of individuals, and a lot of female individuals of Austrian high society, that went to him for his services. Yeah, yeah, exactly, Martha. Yeah, yeah. Hysterical. The psychological term, in the late 1900s, I believe, was developed, and is now being removed because it's inaccurate. There are other psychopathological terms that more accurately describe these phenomena, and it's just not that. And indeed, crazy sexist. Right. So let's see. Moving, if we can. Yeah. So, okay, so now we're moving into some more terminology, a datum, right? So, plural data, right? Or how about a tiny int? That might be another word for it, Pearl, tiny int. Yeah, so the more data a person has, the better he can get along in life. Brrr. Let's see. That's like the Cheshire cat. Oh, I lost my place. This is not a good interface. I don't like it. So, yeah, the more data a person has, the better he can get along in life. If the data has been looked at and sorted out, as previously mentioned, the less data a person has, the more problems and trouble he has. He can also have lots of trouble by having a lot of data that he never sorted out. That if he really is that way, this kind of data that he has never taken the trouble to apply to himself and life can get in the way of his thinking and prevent him from looking at the way things really are. So, yeah, you have a bunch of stuff. So we're going to teach you how to curate and collate and index all of this information in your life, right? That, again, like you never figured that out or nobody else did, because it's like the whole field of philosophy is, again, trying to engage people in these processes for thousands of years beyond that. So along comes L. Ron Hubbard, and he's Plato and Socrates, and he's a Marcus Aurelius, and he's Confucius and Kierkegaard and Nietzsche, all rolled up into one. Not only that, he's a war hero. And he slept with bandits in Mongolia. Did you hear? So yeah, again, just crazy arrogance. Cats can scratch you. They're dangerous. They can't be trusted. This is a datum the girl never sorted out. Okay, so again, they're going to put this technical language and have you make a bunch of assumptions. And if you believe in those assumptions and those preconceived notions, well, geez, Bob's your uncle. You're along for the ride. Let's see if you jump real high next time we say jump. Do you salivate when I ring a bell? So, yeah. So you might say this is what she sees and this is what things really are. So, yeah, people get the wrong idea about stuff, but datum, I don't know. Like kids know this stuff, right? Kids know this stuff. The monster under the bed, the Easter bunny, right? These ideas you have about things, and then these illusions wash away as you come to some greater field of understanding and awareness. And this isn't special within Scientology. Like life teaches you this, not just a school. Anything will teach you this. Like I said, kids know this instinctively. It reminds me of the Velvet Underground song "I've Been Set Free," and the last line of the chorus is, "I've been set free to find a new illusion." So, because we're always going to be clearing some little bit of, as they're saying, unsorted datum, some illusory bit of thinking, something. But again, you can learn this from your friends. You can learn this if you just want to learn it. Like life will teach it to you. So yeah, here's an example of a datum that is known. That is a known fact. If you drop something heavier than air, it drops downward. What if there's no air? Okay, this is a datum and you've learned by observation, blah, 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 right? Now, you take the datum you are given to study, you're familiar, which goes against something you formerly believed. You should do these things with it. Make sure you understand the word. So, word clearing. So, here they've established the necessity for word clearing. In order to get over these misconceptions, maybe the misconception is within the word itself, so word clear. Okay, again, they're trying to say that they came up with they figured out that people need to know the meanings of words in a clear and concise manner, and only now are people getting hip to it because Scientology is teaching this. When was the first English dictionary written? As wasn't it some guy Bacon? Was it Bacon? I forget who wrote the first dictionary. Maybe somebody can look this up. Yeah, weird clearing. Really great. Seriously. Yeah, no kidding. Carry babies in a sling on your back to get things done. They take plenty of datum and learn that way, especially if you talk to them as you go. Absolutely. Everybody does. Right? So, and the schools of philosophy and logic have been formed in order to try to figure out the best ways to sort and sift and process and react and live with all of these stimuli. And they've been around for thousands of years. It's just not unique. So see if it applies in life, right? So ask yourself, have I seen this happen? How does it apply to me? Then set up some examples. So it's like they're trying to say you're going to make scientific experiments of yourself in your life, and you're going to be able to apply all of these things like a scientist. So we're giving you like the special formulae, and we're going to give you the test tubes with the beakers with the special liquid, and you can mix it and figure out all of this stuff and have I'm going to solve it Scientology powers, just like Tom Cruise said in the 2004 IAS convention video. You know, you see that car crash on the side of the road, and you know you're the only person that can do anything about it because Elron smokes cool cigarettes. Okay, so remember that a person cannot learn anything new if he already has fixed opinions. So this is a little black and white thinking. Now, as people learn, you can kind of shift ideas around. Cognitive dissonance will happen when you're holding both of them in your head at the same time. That might be really painful. And say you're having that happen a lot all at the same time. I call that fast learning. So if it hurts to learn things really quickly like that impinge upon your life. Yo, what up, Rika? Yeah. All right. So yeah. Yeah, you can have opinions about things and learn something. It's about cultivating openness. So because you'll never be able to remove yourself and be from yourself and be fully objective, right? You know, notwithstanding the moniker that I go by here on the internet. But you can't really, it's not a thing that anybody can do. There isn't objectivity in our meat brains, as far as I can tell. It just seems not to be. So yeah, judgment depends on freedom from fixed opinions, so that a person can be free to examine what is there. Now, yeah, you want to remove the clutter and the noise from the signal as much as possible, but then again, you also learn about yourself, and especially if you're talking self-help and philosophy, dragging yourself through these processes is sometimes the goal, is the idea, so that if you're truly going to know oneself, you don't want to remove yourself from this transmuting process, right? You're trying to, like you are the, you know, the assembly of all of the things that you've done and heard and experienced and all of your sensory inputs and all of these things. Who knows what else more? A lot more. And that's what, like, if there's a self, that's what it is as far as I can tell, and that's what you're trying to drag through these processes to learn about. So right off the bat, L. Ron Hubbard is like, no, get that shit out of here. Get that out of here. That's not what we want. We want some other you, some blank slate that we can, well, it's not going to be blank after we write all over it, but blank it out first, and then we can write all over it. So, yeah, gross. Gross. Don't have an opinion. Don't have an opinion on what we're doing to you as we're doing it. So, yeah. And so here we go right into, it looks like, yeah. Do we understand the meaning of words? Word clearing, blah. Does it apply? So applying all of the things. So, okay, are we meant to be like, if you're a Scientology acolyte, right? If you're approaching the temple or the altar of Scientology, we are all meant to be the, like, the kid with the trucks over here, right? And we're coming up to dad, registrar, word clearer, whoever's running the classroom, and daddy, may I? I think this whole thing is meant to be infantilizing. If maybe the entire structure of it. So after finding several instances where listening has helped, we can then look at that datum and say, yes, that does apply. So several instances where listening has helped. Now, do you guys listen? Do you find that it helps? Do fish swim? See, I mean, it's interesting. Are fish flying in water? You know, and are birds actually swimming through just a little bit of moisture and gases? So, this is getting Scientological here. Okay. Sorry, I've screwed it up again. I will do it over and over, I'm sure. Yeah, so if somebody has fixed opinions on the subject of help or listening, he would never understand the datum and use it, e.g. So what they're trying to do, again, is remove whatever critical thinking processes you might have, your opinions, before you take the first steps in Scientology. Opinions, critical thinking, it's not something valued here. You're not going to learn anything in here if you bring in all of that banky stuff up in here, which I'm sure they'd tell you. You're not going to learn a ding darn thing if you bring all of that resistance and all of that other stuff into here. So, encouraging you right off the bat, stop thinking. It's gross. I don't like it. Stop thinking. Okay. Am I talking to you? I don't know. Gail, I don't think so. I don't know who I'm talking to. Who is it? I think it's Gail. Hi, Martha. Hi, Pearl Snappy. Hi, Rika. Hi, Doctor Who Heather. It's Rika and Martha. Corn, what up? What up, y'all? Maybe Nash is still in here. I don't know. People are still in here. Right on. So, yeah, here's a datum for you. This quote, the only reason a person gives up a study or becomes confused or unable to learn is because he has gone on a past, a word that was not understood. Okay, let's take that again. Am I crazy? Does this not is this rolling off my ears? Am I doing this a disservice? The only reason a person gives up a study or becomes confused or unable to learn is because he has gone on past a word. On past. Oh, I see. He's skipped over a word. So, yeah. When we used an old timey phrase that definitely that's a quote from the man. That is how he spoke. Okay, so quote, uh, uh, wrong. Okay, flunk. Try again. The only reason a person gives up a study or becomes confused or unable to learn is because he has gone past a word that he was not understood. Okay, so the confusion or inability to grasp or learn comes after a word that the person did not have a definition for example. Okay, so again, word clearing. Um, I try to have a loose brain and a loose eye when I'm looking at or consuming Scientology information because I don't want my brain to really record it, but I do want to repeat it. uh, so he is crepuscule. Crepuscule. I'm not crepuscule. Crepuscule. Nope. This boy was reading a book. He read the following. It was found when the crepuscule arrived, the children were much quieter, and when it was not present, they were much livelier. You see what happens. You think you do not understand the whole idea, but the inability to understand what was said came entirely from the word you did not have a definition for. Crepuscule, of course, means twilight. This piece of knowledge about not going past an understood word is the most important fact of studying. Every study that you have taken up, abandoned, had its misunderstood words. Now, again, like so many self-help things, this stupid basic idea has a little nugget of truth for all the wrong reasons. It's like things that Donald Trump says that may be true for a second, but for all the wrong reasons. Like back in the day, first administration, when he said, "Oh yeah, you think Russia's really killery? Well, the United States does all the killery killing in kill land." And yeah, he's right, but for all the wrong reasons. He's using that to make himself and all of his other statements look logical while he removes you from your will and then your money. And this is also what this tries to do. This is what every self-help cult tries to do. So, yeah, it's so bad, and I feel so awful for the children indoctrinated in this group. Wow, is that not showing? Yeah, it does. It's so bad, and I feel so awful. Oh, damn. My camera ran out of juice. So, yeah, is that better? Yeah, it is so bad. That's the thing. But this one isn't for kids, right? This might be for adult people that aren't fully matured. Uh, but yeah, it's really, I mean, we've seen some of it, and knowing the survivors of Scientology more, how complete um, information control like this for children will stunt the the developmental growth psychologically of somebody. It's really extreme. It's extreme. We've seen examples of people who were born into it or joined as adults, and having exposure to these ideas and believing them for any prolonged period of time seems to have a lifelong effect. It seems to be like an addiction, something that you will be managing and carrying the scars of for the rest of your life, not something that you can just put down, something that you have to be aware of, um, and just manage the worst parts of. And so for children, It's the worst because you have no choice, you have no agencies. Kids cannot consent in any way, shape, or form, not legally, not medically, not psychologically, not neurologically. Can't do it. Yeah, it's the worst. It's the worst. The idea that kids are raised with any of this stuff when we need more people that aren't blown away by cults, by high level indoctrination. We need more useful people in our society. Obviously, we do. We're losing them. We're losing more people to not just these cult ideas, but the large political cult ideas, the corporate cult ideas, the celebrity cult ideas, so that the basics in life seem not worthwhile and people don't want to engage in the simple things anymore. And we're all pushed to the extremes, not ideologically, but of living. Um, yeah, yeah. Gail agreed. Um, yeah, I completely agree with that statement. Um, and especially for children, if you're saying that you're reducing, it's something I used to say on the street. If you are reducing the vocabulary of a kid to Scientology, to the ideas contained within Scientology, their view of the world, right? You're taking such a very narrow slice of existence, and that's all that they have to feed on. You are stunting the development of their brains in critical developmental stages that won't be overcome. That cannot be, right? So once, I mean, to a degree, there are things that can be overcome, right? But like the deficiencies that you pick up and the problems is going to put you in probability ranges for a whole host of things that you're not going to want to deal with. That's what I mean to say. None of these things are definite. They're all probability ranges within effects. But it puts you massively at risk for these things. And for very many people, it will structurally order your brain such that you will have an extremely difficult time getting back cognitively and emotionally the range of emotions and the depth and breadth of ideas that you could have. Now, like the brain is an extremely flexible thing and it can be trained out of just about all of this. It's just the time and the effort that it takes to get back these skills multiplies once you get beyond these developmental stages. And so, yeah, it's freaking brain damage is what you're doing to people by putting them in these developmental stages in high control groups. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. I definitely agree. So, yeah, and that's it's one of the reasons why I stayed out there. Seeing the kids is kind of the hardest stuff. Seeing people at the beginning of that kind of a journey, knowing that they're going to be trapped. They're at the beginning of being trapped within this information sphere that is going to feed them nothing and is going to leave them with nothing for skill sets, for marketable skills, for an ability to relate with the rest of the world. It's going to cripple them, and intentionally so that they can't easily walk away, so that they can't as easily have a life outside of the cult. All of these cults try to do it. The JWs, the FLDS, and I would say the major religions as well. Try to emotionally cripple you so that you won't leave. So yeah, this is still word clearing. Okay, so we're moving on to some weird. Oh no, okay. This is a very important page, page 9. Very important page. Very, very. We're all here for this. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So when we examine the parts of man, we find we are dealing with essentially three things: the body. Now, yeah, you're not your body though. We're gonna turn you into looking at this thing as a piece of garbage on a prison planet and screw that thing. That comes later. Then we go the mind, split into two. So we've got subgroups, right? We've got the analytical mind and the reactive mind. So again, black and white thinking. The mind is one thing or the other. It's not the most highly complex kind of organ, and in the 1950s, unfathomable. So, because we've barely fully imaged all of the structures now. There's like the Genome Project. There is now currently the Connectome Project. So trying to accurately map all of the neuronal connections of the mind generally. And if you could do that for any one person and see the complex interactions between all of those specific neurons, we could probably glean more about the activity of the mind. Right now, we're able to see, these different MRI and fMRI are doing, blood flow with like a ferrous material or with a detectable material by different detectors. It will put into your bloodstream and they'll analyze blood flow. So we're not quite all the way down there yet. Yeah. So yeah, this part of the mind, the person is consciously aware. The analytical mind and the reactive mind, the part of the mind exists below the person's awareness. So basically, this idiot is trying to do Carl Jung, right? But instead of your ego and subconscious, is the analytical mind and the reactive mind. And so we're going to give everything to the ego. And that subconscious, that you just get away from it. All of your instinct, everything that's, that's kind of connected to the secret parts of yourself, just destroy it. So yeah, if somebody, yeah, that's right. Who are the brain police, Martha? Dun dun dun. Yeah, the thought detector, the brain police. They're coming, don't worry. Interesting, Core. No, I haven't. I haven't heard of that surgery. Yeah, that's right. Anything that keeps you safe, anything that's not us. That's right. Anything that's not what we're telling you. Anything like any of your intuition or like your life experience that you got outside of this cult. Any of your opinions, don't have those. Those aren't for you anymore. So, let's see. Yeah. Let's see. I'm going to have to change the gain staging of this cuz I did this on the fly and I can tell it's peaking like crazy. Dot 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 peak. Okay, that's better, I think. Yeah, let's just try to do output gain from here. Yeah, that's better. Okay, I think I balanced it a little better. Yeah, let's see. And then here we go. Dianetics. Oh dear, the very word, and it's so small. Dianetics from the Greek word dianoa, through the mind, and ix from God. That's gross. Right. So, is that branch of Scientology that addresses the mind and its effects in relation to the body? Okay. Okay. Cool story, bro. The thetan. Scientology addresses the spirit, the thetan, right? So this is you, underlined. So we're getting rid of that other thing up here. That's not you. No. This. Whoops. I've done it again. Come on, silly. Yeah, this is you. This. Nothing else. This is what you want to be. This is what will train you to be. This and only this. Greek letter theta, which means thought, right? So, there are, I don't know, what we're getting, I think, therefore I am, we're going cogito, ergo sum. God darn. Really? In religion, the world so has become a meaning. So, yeah, really unimpressive Scientology soul over there, have to say. And again, borrowed. Yeah, the 60s vegetarian cookbook, right? Oh, man. There, yeah. Seriously. I think I know the one. I was raised by hippies. I think I know what you're talking about. Okay, so moving on to the next one. That grosses me out. Um, yeah, axiom 1. Life is basically static. This is one of the dumbest things in the book to me. You're saying life is static. Not even matter fits that definition. And by this time in the 1950s, quantum theory was fairly established as a thing that did things, that predicted other things, that predicted that even the empty space is roiling with chaos that's constantly moving, constantly in flux, constantly in a state change, going in and out of existence. Now we can see it, but was predicted, going in and out of what we can experience as like this dimensional existence of 4 dimensions. Yeah, no, okay. It's the dumbest thing. What? Axiom 1. Life is basically static. There's almost nothing. Not even in matter, in energy and chemistry, but especially not life. That is static. Okay, since time never stops, even recognizing that this is the present is in the past. Yes, how can life be static? Thank you so much. Absolutely. Oh, I know. In that moment, no. So that's why, like, the Buddha, I mean, you get into like high level meditation stuff, and even the goal of meditation becomes an impediment. Thinking about the goal, thinking about stillness is another thought, is another, you're not there. Oh my God. Thank you. Thank you. I am honored to share your presence. And so here we go. We're gonna have some more dumb. No motion, right? So no wavelength. Now, okay, so what isn't in motion? When you say no motion, okay. When you say no motion, what are you referring to? Are you referring to people who might be able to stand still where they are? To stand still for the moment on a continental plate that's moving, on a planet that's moving around the sun, on a sun that's moving around a galaxy, on a galaxy that's moving around a collection of galaxies, that's moving around a super cluster of galaxies. On and on and on. What reference frame are you using? And I would say I'm no motion. So basically, like, if these two things, right? If you believe that you are not the person that you are, and all of the thoughts that you have and your opinions are then also to be removed, all you are is this thing that they say you are, and also the universe is just like, who even knows? Who even knows? It's not even, it's just gross. A life, yeah. So, okay, so definition, a life static. A life static. So they mean like a life bon vivant, like a life gregarious has no gregarity, but a life static has no mass. So don't be static is what they mean. But why would you confuse it with a declarative statement like life is basically static, and there's no motion, there's no wavelength, there's no location in space or time? What isn't located in space or time? What do we know of anything that has no location in space or time? Do we have any indication that there is any such thing ever anywhere? Is there any evidence for it? Is it presented here? No, 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 no. I think to those questions. Um, so really trying to reduce the frame of existence down to Scientology. So maybe the first few questions, the first few pages, are you desperate? Are you really desperate? Okay. Well, you're not the thing that you thought you were. And all of those things that you think, those aren't real either. Basically, and the universe doesn't have anything but the dynamism that we put into it. Stay tuned for what that is and get on board. So they're saying what a static is. And again, this will be like a technical Scientology term that they're putting on you and that they're defining along the lines of indoctrinating you. Alongside, parallel to, or in line with. A static has no motion, it has no width, length, breadth. It is not held in suspension by equilibrium of forces. It does not have mass. It does not contain wavelength. It has no situation in time or space. That sounds like nothing. It's very difficult to define a static as nothing. So no dimension, no motion, no interaction. You're describing nothing. So it's trying to use like maybe a physical term, physics or chemistry. So yeah, look, do you want to be a vase on a table? That's a static. And all the objects in the molecular level motion exist in space. So finally we get into some, okay, great. That's actually engaging in reality there. For half a second. That look at that. Life is so why did you say life is generally static? These objects are just sitting there, but every object is constantly in flux and in motion. Why would you ever say the first thing? So yeah, definitely I didn't look at these, definitely having a reaction to these. This is really dumb. Oh, Pearl, you're absolutely right. Yeah, he would be a spiritual advisor and maybe his publicist. Um um And all objects have in themselves, if only on a molecular level, motion and exist in space, which is itself an integral portion of motion. Hence, we see we are dealing with a higher level of static. No, that's exactly what we don't see by that. Okay, we had reality for one little phrase, and then we annihilated it. Oh my God. Which I don't have. Him and Kennedy. Oh, seriously. I mean, if he didn't already know him, who knows if the Kennedy family didn't have any truck with the Hubbards, but or any member of them. You know, there were some New Agers in there for sure. Some very heavy, like, New Agers. And crazies. So yeah, he annihilated any rationality he had right there. We're dealing with a higher level of we're dealing with a higher level of dynamism between every subatomic particle being constantly in flux and constantly in motion. Arg. So, like, actually, physically, he's absolutely wrong. Everything is always changing, not the other way around. Yeah. Axiom 2. We've made it to Axiom 2. Wow. Okay. Now, they've already stripped you of so much of what's you by this point. If you believe this at this point, there's a fair amount of you that's been left on the cutting room floor. And so let's see what they're going to try to backfill that stuff that they ripped out of you with, because I'm guess that's generally where it goes, right? Axiom 2, the static is capable of considerations, postulates, and opinions. You can't measure this static. When you find something which has no mass, no location, no position in space or in time, and no wavelength, the very fact that it can't be measured tells you that you have your hands on life itself. Wow. Anybody want to take a swing at that? What is trying to be conveyed there? Well, yeah, Corn. I mean, if you're referring to, I mean, who knows what he was up to? It seems like if you're talking about LRH's bedroom proclivities, it seems that they were varying, and it depends on who you ask. And yeah, could have been a lot. So you can't measure the static. Axiom 2, the static is capable of consideration, postulates, and opinions. So life is generally static, and the static is, but it's capable of opinions. So a static has all of these qualities. It is what was in Axiom 1: no mass, no location, no position in space or time, no wavelength. And that's how you know you have life. Life is static, and static is life. That's Axiom 1. Axiom 2 proves Axiom 1. Nice. Yeah, I mean, I think you can only, after a time, you defend yourself by laughing. This is like nervous laughter. It's really sad, all of this stuff, that anybody ever believes this, but it is also, it's funny because of how jokes are constructed, because this is giving us a deceptive cadence, a false denouement. We're off our regular footing by these terrible turns of phrase, and it causes hilarity in the brain, and can't help it. Yeah. So yeah, that I mean, so nobody cared to tackle the logic of that one. Why? I wonder why. So wonderful drawing. Um, right? It's like an architectural sketch of where you're going to put the little drive. You can't measure it, yet all things measurable extend from it, from this static. All phenomena extend. Um, okay. Is LRH, am I, yeah, am I wrong? Or is LRH trying to say that it, are they replacing the term static for the singularity of like the Big Bang? All phenomena extend from the static, and like the singularity is like in no space, in no time, had no dimension, contained everything, didn't supposedly didn't move, but we do. The thing is, we just don't know. There's the like the physics, the ideas don't extend beyond a certain time scale of once the universe started to move, emerge from the singularity. So are we? Is that what we're trying to do? I don't know what. Yeah, yeah, that's right. You're lucky. Pearl is right. You're lucky you didn't get too deep into Ayn Rand. It is she's got her own cult. Um, really gross, and her ideas are destroying a large part of our country. Yeah. Okay. You cannot measure a dog by his biscuits, and you cannot measure this static by the phenomena extending from it. Yeah, but you can measure a dog. You can weigh it. You can measure every dimension of every component of it. Like, you could laser scan your dog. You they're saying this static is immeasurable, but are they talking about like the soul? So the static being like a soul, or being the thetan, which is immeasurable and has no dimension. They're just, he's being real coy. He's being real coy. Space is one of these phenomena. You could say that life is a space energy object production and placement unit. Okay. No. Um, Now, you could use any arbitrary scale to measure space. Okay. Whatever scale. Bloom, Flarp, Nubins. This is 6 of them. Okay. So we're going to measure space by Bloom, Flarp, Nubins. And yeah, you can measure space. So what? But he has to go into, quote, space energy object production and placement unit. uh, because that is what it does. And that's literally what it says right there. I can't believe it. Oh, okay. I have to stop laughing because this is becoming unserious. But space is one of these phenomena. You could say that life is a quote space, energy, object production, and placement unit because that's what it does. But when you measure these, you do not measure life. Yeah, but first, if you're going to measure something and you're going to call it something as vague as life, you might want to define your terms. Mr. Word Clearer, what is life to you? You again, very, very coy for somebody that's so stuck on the strict definitions of words. Um, yeah, right? Exactly. Yeah, they're exactly. You need more word clearing here. So I don't think he really intended to make people understand anything. Okay. Okay. Here we see um, tractor, farm, field that's been plowed, being furrowed. He's getting the furrows. Got some dancers over here. So okay. So we're getting into conceptions of life, how we we get into this, how we mentally picture it. We do not conceive life to have an energy. No, I think a lot of people do. Okay. I think a lot of people do. If we're talking about cell biology, um, I think the energy powerhouse of the cell from, like, seventh grade biology, mitochondria. So, yeah, we do not conceive life to have an energy. We? Who's we? You? Okay. So life, not caloric energy, not heat energy, not joules. It's not measured in joules. I thought it was measured in joules. Um, let's see what you got there. Yes, life equal. Okay, so there's the first one. Yes, but then yes, yes, everything's energy, dude. So yeah, life doesn't. So all of these okay, Scientology, I find, tries to pull your mind apart by destroying logic and destroying the meaning of words in front of you, so that you just like give up and give in to what they're saying anything is, because it's not going to make sense. It's only going to be what they tell you. So that, and if everything, like if you're a kid or if you've tied your social situation to Scientologists, if you have so much riding on it, or if the necessities in life depend greatly on the say so or admiration or acceptance of Scientologists, yeah, you're just going to give in. And for children, it's the worst. Yeah, so the products of wait, life itself has quality and ability. It doesn't have an energy, but it has a quality and ability. Nothing measurable. So, but some kind of descriptor. It has qualities and it does things. Okay. It's not, but I thought life was a static. So, how could it have abilities? Okay. The products of quality and ability are matter, energy, space, and time, aka the physical universe. This could be classed as mechanics. No, no, I mean, it could be, and you're gonna class it as mechanics, but nobody else would. Okay, so that's messed. Matter, energy, space, and time is a common acronym that you will hear referred to if you read enough Scientology literature. The basic subdivision in life is between ability and mechanics. Ability, like this guy having a, I don't know, is he stroking out, or what's his ability to like radiate lines from his head? He's leaning way back on that tractor to plow the field, maybe? Okay. I'll take that. And then the mechanics is like the plow itself, the field itself, right? The existence of the actual things. So, okay. This cult right here is trying to, from the ground up, describe the universe in its own terms, using its own lexicon and reforming the ideas of the universe as it basically exists physically and your relation to it in its own terms, so that your whole life view will be contained and hermetically sealed within this information system. It's not trying any system that attempts to do this, any self-help system that attempts to do this. If you open up a book and the first chapter or the introduction or any part of it says this is the highest, most revealed anything, know what you're dealing with. You're dealing with somebody trying to sell you something that they can't possibly know what it is. It's so many things. Scientology is just one of the worst of them, but like Men are from Mars, women are from Venus, is that. Okay? And every self help book like it is the same thing. Tries to define this phenomenon in its own terms and sell you a way out of it. And so, yeah, look out for that one. Twyla Luna, yeah, I believe you're right. Um, yeah, absolutely. So, well, I believe you're right, and it goes back to the very first pages where it says, "In Scientology, there's something here to study. There's something to understand." And yeah, no shit. Like every scientific endeavor, which there's no end to, like you can look in any direction in any field of study, and every little subset you could study for the rest of your life, and you'll never get to the end of it. So the whole idea that in Scientology there's something to study. No, the whole world, the whole world. Investigating your backyard by digging with the stick will reveal more than a life spent in Scientology, by the way. But yeah, it is. It's for people who've decided that's like either beyond me, or maybe I'm intimidated by the sciences, or there's like a cultural barrier to me engaging with them, which for a lot of people there were, and especially if you're talking in the 1960s and 70s, women and minorities in the sciences and the universities. I mean, geez, that was a big deal. That didn't happen all the time. You know, you had to kind of fight for each one of those places. My mother being a doctor that was trained in that era, like yeah, is not easy. But yeah, there's a lot of reasons why you could be like given the brush off from the sciences, or be intimidated by them and not engage. But to then like go full anti-intellectual and make up like mythologized euphemisms for those same things, have vague definitions for them, and saying that they're an accurate replacement for those things is as crazy as Scientology appears to be. So it matches their ideology, the teachings, and what we see on the street. It's the same crazy. So there's a logical through line, at least through our observations, mine at least. Let's see. But they are still crazy. So here we have some dancers. Yo, what up, Vicky? Twyla Luna, thanks for that. That was awesome. Niacin? Yeah, right? Yeah, let's make a dose niacin. So we're dancing. Ability is demonstrated by the handling of matter, energy, space, and time. The handling. Okay. Quality means simply value or having a value. No values, that is to say, opinions, exist in the absence of life. They want you to get rid of opinions. Those are impediments to learning. We just learned that. We need to get rid of them. No values, that is to say, opinions, exist in the absence of life. The absence of life, no opinions. But they want you to produce a state in your mind that is of no opinions. So is that saying now that they want their assessment, their description of the state of mind that they're trying to produce in your mind to better learn, is that of an absence of life? It doesn't sound good. So just like go blank and we'll matrix download stuff into you. Okay. Ability is demonstrated by the handling. So you can dance. So you understand where you are in space and time. You jump and you have all these experiences. You can handle your own matter. You can handle the matter of the floor, you know, the space between the dancers, blah, blah, blah. Right. Again, trying to put their own technical language on basic phenomena in order to own it. Like planting a flag. Yeah, but like an ontological or an epistemological flag, but a meaningless one that's like drawn in crayon. So let's see. We have then actually described a thetan when we have gotten axioms 1 and 2. That's what we thought. That's what I thought. They're like, oh yeah, this singularity, this thetan, yeah, that okay. A thetan is very, very close to being a pure static, right? So almost no life, almost no dimension, almost no nothing. He has practically no wavelength, actually. So, so the thetan, they're trying, they're trying to connect to all the reactions, all like anything that could be by like New Agers or Hindus described as karma. Um, and like anything that we could recognize as the connection that we have to human beings, the feelings that we feel, the reactions that we've had to the world, how the world has made us feel, all of these things are about to be annihilated in the quest to become close to your thetan, because it's what you are, because you aren't who you thought you were. Dun dun dun. Dun dun dun. Okay. It's scary. It's scary. I laugh because I'm afraid of the immensity of these ideas. The immensity, it's not the ideas that are immense, but the damage that they produced. Like, I am in the presence of something that produced a whole lot of human misery and degradation, and it is comic. Both can be true. Both were true about Ronald Wilson Reagan. He was both highly destructive and comic. I think, you know, Donald John Trump fits that bill. A lot of super gross things have that same description. Now let's have a look at the mind. First of all, close your eyes. Think of a cat. Did you get a picture of a cat? Was it a cat you had known sometime? It does not matter if the picture was very clear or just a hazy impression. We can all do this to some degree. And okay, so did we close our eyes and did we imagine a cat? Yeah, yeah, right. Well, the other editions they tried to address this picture poverty that they have here. Um, the 1980s ones, which are like 100 pages, they have better pictures. But I mean, she is thinking of a cat. She closed her eyes. This is what your mind consists of: pictures of your past experience. It's your bank. So they've first described the bank. You're going back your bank. You're acting banky. These pictures, these opinions of your former life and the things that the world taught you. The thetan has the ability to call up pictures from this past in order to draw conclusions about what he is now looking at. Of course, the thetans are male. Here is an example of how the analytical mind works. Suppose one day you saw an animal, you would call up pictures from your past that resembled that animal. This happens very, very fast. Your first conclusion in this case would be that it was a dog, and if in your past you had seen this particular breed of dog, you would have pictures of it from that you might know the dog. Jesus. Yeah, you might know a breed of dog if you had seen a breed of dog. Why did you need all of that for that? Ouch. Study tech is I think, to be able to read L. Ron Hubbard's baloney pants and not blow yourself away. Pictures of it from that you might know the dog that you were looking at was a terrier. Yeah, you might know if you'd seen a terrier, there's a terrier. Oh, that's a terrier. A dog fancier would have lots and lots and lots of pictures stored up full of data about dogs that could identify a great many breeds, etc. The average person might only identify it as a dog like the Smiths have, or just a dog. The mind supplies these pictures so fast that most people are not aware of how they use their minds. What the hell? I mean, all you have to do is look at any child learn anything, and you understand the rote process by which we are shown examples of things and have some kind of symbol in the form of a written or spoken word that represents that and how those things are attached. I'm sorry, but to say that we don't know these things is again just like a cynical dig on people. People do know these things. They're right in front of them all the time. And again, it's how we teach anybody anything. So, okay, that's how the analytical mind works. But we're going to learn, the analytical mind is a very sharp tool. Oh yeah, use the arrows. That's the. It's a terrier, and that kid is going to ride the terrier like a horse. Don't forget that although it's the mind that presents the pictures, it is you, the thetan, who knows what he is looking at. So again, like the you that isn't you, it's not the body, it's not the thing. So rather than, okay, I think in some readings of the word yoga, it means yoke or to join, right? So to join the spirit, like the idea of like a soul, the mind, and like the analytical mind in the body, and Scientology against that kind of core teaching is saying no, 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 no. Separate these things and actually just have this one thing and throw away that body piece of trash. Just throw away that thing or give it to us for free labor. You don't want it. Scientology will use it. We're clearing the planet, by the way. You have a body that's not you, give it here. So yeah, it is you, the thetan, who knows what he is looking at and who draws the conclusion and decides on the answer. All of these, I mean, it's all of these things in tandem. And Scientology again is trying to say it's this one way and it's how we say it is. And by the way, we're going to tell you more about how it goes. Oh yeah. Thank you. What does it mean that Elon wanted to make a truck but instead thought of a sideways trash can? What does that mean? Does that mean his mind is broken? I mean, you made a truck in the form of a DeLorean? Yeah, he did. Because we were going to go back in time. Yeah, I mean, he broke his company. Sales of that are maybe the worst, and it's the biggest layout as far as all of the the fitting to his gigafactories and everything. They're losing the shirt on the Cybertruck. Well, it shows that he's well over his skis and he's not coming back over them. He's bitten off way more than he can chew. Is like, well, he's not an engineer, so he didn't really understand what he was doing when he was doing it. Other people did. Doesn't mean he did. Okay, so we're about to be faced squaw on with a tautology here. This is tautological theater. Use the arrows. Use the arrows. Okay, the analytical mind analyzes. Wow. Can you believe it? The analytical mind analyzes. Freaking fantastic. Oh, he definitely. Oh, yeah. No, that's exactly the kind of thing Elron would try to get involved with. Um, you know, I think a lot of ex-Mouseketeer types uh, would have had a tough time getting away from somebody like Elron. Yeah, the analytical mind analyzes, sorts out the data which it has received. If there were all, if that were all there was to the mind, then we would have a perfect mind. Okay, so we should have a perfect mind if it was just an analyzer, one that never made a mistake. But the thing is, just like raw, objective analysis. If you're trying to apply that to human problems without adding in all of the other factors that go along with that, that's why that kind of objectivity not matched with the reality of the situation and all of its little problems, as the devil is in the details, you'd never be able to describe that phenomenon. So the idea of perfection, just what I'm saying, like the perfect mind, the objective mind, these things are stupid ideas. They don't exist. And putting them up as like goals or as something that we're falling short of achieving is a useless thing. And to say maybe we're robbed of this and I have a methodology whereby we can achieve these things or regain them if we've lost them is, again, it should be the foul whiff, sulfurous whiff of charlatanry, if that's a word. I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, one that never made a mistake, never came up with the wrong answer, never gave the body a wrong command, but this is not the way people are. So there must be something else that we've not discussed. Something that's getting in the way of all of the perfection that the mind should actually have. Because we're saying there is this analytical part and it should be perfect, but there's this nasty other part. The reactive mind, this part of the mind is not under the person's own control. It reacts or acts in response to outside influence, not to the influence of the person who owns it. Now, if you're saying the subconscious, that's not true. And again, the reactive mind, he's trying to like make unidimensional and stupid the idea of the subconscious as put forward by Carl Jung, who I do not agree with fully, or any of the psychoanalysts that came out of that school. They all had their ideas that were revolutionary for their time, but we've moved far beyond them. They're useful for some things, but terribly useless for others. But anyway, this seems to be a borrowing of that and just like a shade of it. See, do you ever see pictures or think thoughts you don't want to have? So, like intrusive thoughts, having a part of your mind processing. So, also want this is instilling in people a desire to have like dictatorial control over all of your mind, like some kind of drill sergeant. No, I will not have that thought. I will not have that feeling. And if you were actually able to achieve this, so much of the what makes life interesting, what makes it kind of complicated, what serves, drama and literature and poetry would be bled out of the thing if we just had the analysis. Like, without the reactive mind and all of these things that are described here, how do you have one work by James Joyce? How do you have any work by any absurdist playwright? How do you have any of the paintings of Rene Magritte or Salvador Dali? You don't. I mean, do we know any Scientologists to be great artists, or are they like entertainers generally? Are they entertainers within like a super corporatized form of entertainment in the arts as well that has a bunch of rules where maybe it's not as creative as people may think. I don't think this lends itself to creativity, open thought, for better thought, for anything like it. Sorry, I'm stuck here, but this one really gets me. When you're trying to borrow from the greats and they're not even that good. Okay. Yeah, the dead eyes. You're right, Vicky. Thanks for saying that. Okay, yeah. Do you ever see pictures that you don't want to have? Intrusive thoughts. Here's how the reactive mind works. Suppose the girl shown in the previous drawing had been badly bitten by a dog and she was young. Okay, so the person who'd reacted to the terrier, right? Get away from that mad dog. That guy's giving the salute. The reactive mind records the bad things that happen to us, pain, fear, emotional upsets. When it is doing this, the analytical mind is not working and being aware of what's going on. So we do not have pictures of this to analyze with. What? These aren't ever working in tandem, in parallel. So when the reactive mind is off, the analytical mind shuts off completely. It's black and white, on and off, one or the other. That's a terrible way to live. It's also a very, very bad idea. It's not sound logically. I don't know what you can do with that. And by the way, yeah, that we don't have pictures, that we're not analyzing this. No, we do. Very much. I mean, there are problems with trauma in memory. Certainly, there's all sorts of different kinds of problems that come up with the accuracy of memory in different traumatic events. Certainly, but it's not every time, all the time, and it's by degree. So, the minute that you hear a description of all the way on, all the way off, this person's all the way bad, or they're all the way good, or always and never. If somebody says always and never, you always, they never, about anything, the person's generally exaggerating. You can tell right off the bat. And they're probably not being reasonable with you about the rest of it. So, yeah, the reactive mind stores up all the bad things that have happened to you and throws them back at you in moments of danger or upset, so dictates your action along lines that you have not decided on, but you have. So, okay, people mythologize their upset, right? And these traumas, and they come up with accurate or inaccurate stories about why they can, have a limited kind of exposure to these things that have upset them, and they can and cannot be true. And it's all your choice. So, and even some levels, I think, of temporary self-deception in order to get away from things, might be useful. Like, I would deceive myself into thinking, I really, really hated cigarettes in order to quit them, because there was a very strong part of me that liked everything to do with them. I would try to myself just associate cigarettes with everything bad. And whenever I thought about them, I'd think of all the bad things and all the bad experiences that I ever had with cigarettes and all the bad feelings that they ever gave me and the money that it cost. And it became less and less attractive. Like, you can do these things for yourself, but again, you choose it. Let's see. It is supposed to protect you when you are in danger, blah, 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 blah. Right? So, yeah, this is, again, they're trying to pathologize the parts of ourselves that would defend us from everything that we freaking learned in our lives, and that it's not a good idea, and that you can't. Maybe a better idea would be learning how to marry these things, right? So you had these reactions. Now, how do you temper them, right? How do you bring your danger sense into accord with I don't know, the rest of everything that you know. So you were bit by a dog, but then you know that all dogs, right? So, everybody does this, and you don't need Scientology to do it either. So, Nash, if you get a sunburn, you remember the next time to use sunscreen. It's a good thing. Yeah. Yeah, so cause and effect and having these things. Well, they're saying that, these unreasonable reactions like all dogs are bad because I got bit by a dog is what they're going to try to clear. Get that dog away from me. So I better rush home. It scares me. Leave the baby Joe with the baby bear. You can see here the reactive mind is the source of all irrational thought and behavior. So yeah, this person's having like the lifelong reaction to the every dog about the dog that bit them. And people get these kinds of phobias and they have these kinds of attachments to fear. And again, Scientology is not a way to clear them. It's not. And anyway, these techniques, like they're half indicating good techniques, or I mean, for everybody it's going to be different. Some people are going to be able to talk out their phobia of dogs. Some people are going to need some kind of exposure therapy. Some people are going to need a combination, but and those needs and what works best may change in the same person at different stages in their life, given like their kind of psychological makeup at a time. So any hard and fast rules, this is what you need to be able to clear yourself of the phobia of anything. I would say also be careful of those. Yeah, we're getting there. So we've removed ourselves from ourselves, and we know that our reactions to danger and our own opinions, those are totally wrong and we shouldn't have them. Welcome back. Yeah, so let's see. And we're moving on to deeper philosophy. The spaces and forms you see when you close your eyes and behold mental image are energies and obey the various laws of energy, space, matter, and time. So, okay, so don't ignore physics. Physics is physics. So we can see here that the thetan creates mental matter, energy, space, and time. Each time it takes a mental picture. Okay, this is saying, in a way, that the soul creates like actual mental stuff, like maybe in a platonic sense, like outside of space and time where the thetan is, creates some extra stuff when it takes a picture. Now what that stuff is comprised of or what it does, I think they're going to let us know. But yeah, okay, so we see some mental pictures. Here we see a person watching a beautiful sunset. As he does, he's creating mental matter, space, and energy, and time to record what he sees and does. So they're trying to say that there's some kind of identifiable physical component that is produced by the thetan when it processes images that it can later recall that are in our bank. Here we have a being capable of bringing into being quantities such as space energies, masses, and time, capable of changing and controlling these masses and energies, capable of adding them or subtracting from them. If you're talking about being able to like imagine stuff in your brain, if you're talking about being able to do any of these in the physical world, don't try this at home. Don't try to fly. Birds take off from the ground or from a physical object and not super high. Don't try to do these things. As well as having the ability to create energy, the thetan has the ability to destroy energy. And so you're both Shiva and Kali? You're the wow. In the form of mental image pictures that he does not want, such as pictures containing pain or upset, which could have an inhibiting effect on him in his daily life. For complete data on the mind in all aspects and how to handle it. Yeah, okay. So a little advertisement at the end of page 19. Hey, by the way, if you're really buying this stuff here, dude, we got the book for you. It's not this book, it's the other one. So take the training wheels off and go for the full science, right? And so here we see somebody taking physical mental pictures. Let's just destroy this analogy here. So you could say that a camera sees a tree and takes a picture of it, but the camera does not know it has seen a tree. Sees a tree. No, you could say that if you were a child and you were trying to put anthropomorphic qualities onto a camera, and you could put like googly eyes on your camera and give them a funny voice. And every time you took a picture with it, you could like say your googly eyed camera's catchphrase in its funny voice if you thought it could see it. If you take a picture of a tree with your eyes, you know that you have seen a tree. Wait a minute. Okay. Do you take a picture with your eyes by blinking? Like, okay. That's what I'm wondering. So, okay, y'all. The thetan is the thing which considers, the thing which has opinions, the thing which creates, the thing which monitors, the thing which has goals and which can experience. Okay, so again, the deepest core of yourself they've tried to put a name to and functions, qualities to that are defined rigidly within their system. If you believe that, they could sell you anything. They could tell you anything about yourself, right? So your relationship to this thing that they have then defined is going to be now your journey with them. And here it comes. Like maybe, okay. They think they're so smart here. The part of ourselves that we are most certain of, most aware of, is the body. We all know that we have a body. Here's a simple illustration of how our body works. Here we have a picture of a marionette and someone operating it. If you liken yourself, if you liken the operator of the marionette to yourself, the thetan, right? So that's you with the hands. Then liken the crossbar body's brain, which is just another part of the nervous system which receives and sends impulses to the body parts. Okay. So they're trying to indicate to you that you can take full control of yourself here, like you're operating a doll. And that, I mean, this is an old concept of the body just being a shell for the soul and being a husk. This isn't unique to Scientology in any way, shape, or form. But the thing is, what they don't show you is once they've shown you exactly how to operate this thing and everything that it means, and if this hand's movements and the thought of the operator of this hand to this crossbar to the marionette is being governed by Scientology, who's working the puppet? If you can believe a total solution from somebody like this to everything in life, who is working the puppet? So then liken the marionette strings to the body's nervous system, which runs from the brain to all parts of the body, and liken the marionette to the body. This will give you a good idea to how to relate to and control your body. It's nothing more than a marionette. And that's really, I would think, how L. Ron Hubbard might regard every Scientologist. Just as the operator of the marionette is causing the crossbar brain to send messages along the strings nerves to the body, you are doing this to your brain and body. And I mean, this looks like a really enterprising business person who's very much engaged. You are a thetan and an individual. You are a thinker. You're the observer. The thing that knows what he is looking at, the part that decides things, that gives the orders. You're in control. You're the engineer of your own locomotive, the pilot of your own ship, the space ranger of your own space ranger force. Okay. You use the body's eyes to see with, ears to hear with. Jeez. Okay. Wow. Okay. Der. Yeah, so they're trying to give you a sense of personal power if you've engaged in the idea of the thetan. They're trying to say that you can be completely self actualized if you engage in this concept just because you want to, just because you've heard of the concept. If you're exposed to it, which this is a very special concept that you can't get anywhere else, this is how you're going to be able to take full control of all of these things and perhaps be like a fully fledged 1950s business male, which is the ultimate goal, right? Like J.R. Bob Dobbs. Hail Bob. Those who know, know. Your puppet, your choice. Very good, Corn. The audacity, yeah. The audacity of this man to assert that they could control a damn thing. We've all seen that door in Austin. We have. They can't drive. They can't build. They can barely read. It really does seem that the life skills that you gain in Scientology aren't worth a damn. So, yeah, it is. It's audacious, but it's exactly, of course, the kind and style of a sales pitch that you'll get from a fraudulent person, from a confidence trickster who's going to really be audacious. So, okay, here we go. We're going to do TR 0. I mean, I looked at this for the first time and I'm like, okay, this looks like TR 0. I could be wrong. Yeah. If we look at what communication is, we would usually end up with getting an idea across. Okay. Okay. You could say. You could say that. You could say it could be one way. It could be just an idea. You're communicating, right? One idea transferred, any single datum transferred over a space. Okay, so it is possible to communicate with animals and objects in I tried to fast read that. Okay. Uh, it's it is. I mean, animals, yeah. Objects. Okay. Um, we find at least two people are needed for communication. But you just okay. We're going to look at communication between people because people are important. What about fish? Do they swim? Now we're going to look at what else is necessary for good communication besides two people and an idea. Idea, but distance, cause point, receipt point. First of all, okay, so again, technical, useless jargon, lexicon to fill your mind up with the importance of knowing these things, of knowing, again, what a child knows. Once they get past about age 5 or 6, where they see, the other individual actor and understand reciprocity and understand that they're dealing with another acting agent, 4 or 5, 6 sometimes, understand this concept instinctively, right? And this diagram might, because you haven't formalized this idea, you'll get like the sense of like, aha, wow, it's something that I already knew, but nobody described this way. But if you'd engaged in the basics of philosophy or logic, or anything having to do with analyzing thought and discourse, you'd come across this. So, again, not unique to Scientology. Yeah, cause point, receipt point. First of all, we have the person that starts the communication. We will call him the cause point. The other one receives the communication. So we will call her the receipt point. Jesus. Call them whatever you want. Input, output, USA. Now we come back to the cause point. We know if he is going to get his idea across, he has to intend to reach the other person. Okay, so if you're not going to communicate if you don't want to communicate. Wow. So really put some elbow grease into that intention. So we put intention on his side. He also has to have some attention on the other person to see if she is ready to be talked to. So you can't just talk into the air and expect people like soliloquizing Hamlet or something. Can't expect that people will understand anything that he's saying if you're not actually addressing somebody. Does anybody need to be told this? Do kindergartners need to be told this? They don't. So we also put attention there. The receipt point, in order to receive the message, has to have his attention, his on the sender. So the receipt point has attention too. So they have a job. They have responsibility too. And again, kindergarten. There is one more factor involved in communication, and that is duplication. Duplicate by the receipt point and the idea which originated at the cause point. This is where most communication breaks down. Now, yeah. Accurate duplication, right? So you didn't understand. You didn't understand the word. This person, obviously, this person's freaking out. Of course, she's freaking out. She didn't understand, and poor 50s business guy, J.R. Bob Dobbs, is being hit with all of the pots and pans. And all he meant to say was, I love you. So, AZ Crimson, thanks for the things. What'd you do? Gifted a membership. Wow, AZ, thank you. Thanks for showing up here, and thanks for gifting a membership. That's very cool of you. You're very cool. Yeah, exactly. D. Gill 303. Yeah, I was about 6 when exposed to the. Absolutely. Are you talking to me? What? Yeah. Wicked. Cool. Will do. Thank you. Cool. Yeah. So yeah, just grab that. So yeah, 6 when exposed to this concept. It's the recent college grad. Yeah. That's terrible. Well, again, thank you for showing up and saying anything about this. This is exactly what I'm looking for. Trying to start discussions with anybody that has any perspective on what these concepts are, their lived experience with them, how they encountered them originally, and how they find them now. These are part of what I intend to get out of this. And so thank you for helping me accomplish some of that. Operation by duplication is another drill that is done. Absolutely. Yeah. That's in one of the TRs, Dylan. Would be happy to chat with you sometime. That would be great. Definitely drop me a line. Email address is on the description of the page. That would be great. I'd love to have you up to go over any of this stuff. And you're absolutely more than welcome here. Thank you very much for the conversation. Yeah, because we didn't get a person's attention, or because our own attention to get our ideas across wasn't strong enough. The idea is not duplicated. It is not received the way we meant it. So misunderstanding arises. And so they're going to go into like everything about your posture, about your intention, about like how your thetans interpolated, about the tone scale, and how all of those things being trained up in alignment will result in you being able to communicate. And actually, those are all just criteria that will show up in a list of courses that they can sell you for thousands of dollars, as far as I could tell. Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, yeah, auditor training up there. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I've been looking at some of that stuff recently. So I think that's probably where I came across it. One of the things, and I'll go over this in other videos, show you where I've been pulling a lot of information from, is that some of the best curated places, and for ex-Scientologists, this would be incredibly dangerous information, I think. So I would take this with a very big grain of salt. But like some of the best curated places, besides the WikiLeaks site and the uh, Sciento space, um, are independent Scientology sites. It's crazy. Because they really, I mean, part of their mission for so many years has been to like get the word out on Hubbard's wonderful works for free, for people to get outside of the evil clutches of David Miscavige and everybody else who are trying to bilk you for this mother's milk, this manna from heaven that's coming from this wonderful person, which is all a freaking lie. As you can see, even early on, and all the way back in the original docs, in the original policy letters from the 1950s and 60s, all of the evilness, all of the terrible stuff that we're going after Scientology for, it existed before David Miscavige was born. So, yeah, yeah, totally, yeah, yeah. So that's why I mentioned it. It was was it seems like this is where this is all going to be indicated, is that, you know, your position on the tone scale and how you are currently operating, how interpolated your fucking thetan is with other thetans. Um, yeah, how fucked up you are at any given moment is by Scientology's measure is going to go towards your effectiveness in communication, and so you're not even going to be able to talk. So imagine telling somebody with crippling social anxiety who's coming into Scientology for a communications course that, okay, so you're really bad at communication and we're going to help you. And the only way that you're ever going to ever actually communicate with people is through us specifically. And only if you do all of these very, very, very special things. It would be a special little hell that you would create for people, I think, and wouldn't give them any of the help that they would ever really need, and it would absolutely chain them to you and cripple them, which is seemingly exactly what they want. Thank you so much. These are great. These are great comments. Yeah, no kidding. They are. It's weird that they are kind of like the Galactic Patrol. They're interesting and weird folk. It seems to be a lot of hippie types, like a lot of the flower child generation that like grew up when Hubbard was still around and had a bunch of years exposure of getting those policy letters put in their box and feeling like they had any direct communication with the Commodore himself, that are holding on to these ideas that it was all roses. This is one of the reasons that I thought my rewatching, Pearl and I recently watched the movie The Master, and I'd seen it several times. She had seen it before. And just how wonderful a takedown of the concepts of early Scientology, of all of Hubbard, that it was all a lie. And for this particular way, it's subtle, although it's not subtle. Uh, and I think would be an affront to very many people who find themselves on the indie side of things, in that it, because that is one of the last refuges of people who are escaping. It's like the methadone clinic, I guess, of Scientology. That might be offensive and ill given. It is an analogy. I don't know. You could tell me different. All right, we're nearing the end here. That picture really gets me. I don't. Ugh. So here we go. Um, 27. So we did the distance. We did the communi. Okay, so here's the next distance one. Okay, out of this, so now they're going to show you the idealized state. Out of this, we now get a formula for communication. Distance, the idea would you like, cause, point, attention, intention, attention. So CPIA, RPAD. The formula is cause, distance, effect with intention, attention, and duplication. That's the way an idea goes across. They should have done like Schoolhouse Rocks for these things. Maybe they did. Well, a bunch of other ones, a bunch of other cults do animations for basic concepts for children at the very least. Maybe we'll go into that. The formula is all of that. So, and then the reply, you had to receive the information. You had to be able to duplicate the information. You needed attention, but you had to have intention to have attention to have duplication. So they're leaving out the intention over here. So it would be receipt, point, intention, attention, duplication. That's inaccurate even within their own logic. So that the former receipt point has now become the cause point, and the former cause point. Oh, so flipsy backsy, whoopsie daisy, topsy turvy, oingo boingo, ACDC. Wow. So you can communicate, you can receive all of these things. What a wonderful world of very basic and obvious concepts. The talking down to when two people are in good communication, A sends his idea across to B, B receives it, sends a reply or answer back to A, receives it, A does. So we're playing tennis, all right. But again, we all know this. This is how you have a conversation with anybody. You've had a conversation with somebody. Yes, you've done this. You don't need to learn it. You can get better at it. You don't need them to teach you. You can teach yourself. What do I want out of a conversation? What do I want to get better at? And just systematize it for yourself. You don't need these people. So, whoopsie daisy. I used the scrolly wheel again. Never use the scrolly wheel. That's what I tried to teach myself. But I'm not learning because I have other ideas in there. My mess isn't mested. Okay, sorry, y'all. Okay, now we get to the crux of the biscuit. The missing thing here is acknowledgement. What is acknowledgement? It's the way you let somebody know you've heard the answer. Yes, that's right. Thank you. Yes. So we're getting into a primary function of within the training routines where you're going to move the ashtray and the ashtray moved. Thank you. I mean, am I wrong about that, Dylan? Am I wrong? Yes, indeed. Yeah. They only help the able once they use big league sales and exactly. Find the person through and they start to process corrosive persuasion. Absolutely. No. And it's it's in the Zimbabwe interview from the 1960s. It's early on in his writings that they're trying to help, able man better himself, and there's nothing that we can do with these other individuals, and we're just going to leave them to the psychists, and that's their purview. We're trying to we're trying to free and unleash the unlocked potential of people who are already able. And it's not just people who are able, it's people who have disposable income. So yeah. Yeah, you have to clay demo communication cycle on the student. Of course you do. And that is terrible. I've heard that described from several people. When I first met Eric, He described that. Certainly Serge and Lara. For the exactly this entire thing or any of these things, you'd have to clay it out. And I mean, Eric was saying that, generally, even if you didn't, you could kind of clay something up and insist that you understood it. And for the purposes of the person who's running the classroom having like a success rate that's higher, they'd pass you. And he said he knew he could get away with it. Um, that makes sense because what they just want the success rate. They just want that's what they really want. So that their first report is, getting a good number, so that good numbers are going all the way up lines. So everything's, upward. Yeah, straight up and vertical. So yeah, the acknowledgement, it could be a nod or a smile or a thank you or okay. It simply means the person knows you received him. Otherwise, like on a radio. Roger that. Yeah. The arc triangle is coming up in the in the next page, I believe, or one of them. Yeah. And the basic TRs are confront with eyes closed, confront with eyes open, acknowledging. Yeah. TR0. Yeah, and 1. Interesting. Another piece of dumb literature like this that does an overview. A lot of people had a loose idea of how much Scientology is involved in Narconon, and I found like a TR0 illustrated handbook to be able to bring Narconon people through that one, which is one of the things that I'm going to go over. But yeah, absolutely. Then there are the ashtray TRs. Exactly. So ashtray TRs, look, maybe the best visual representation of those is in the Thoreau Scientology movie, where he's with Marty Rathbun for most of the time, and they go down to Gold and yell it up and get kicked out. But Marty Rathbun demonstrates that TR, or one of them, for the camera crew, and runs it with like a volunteer. Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's when you're starting to believe the higher level stuff, and maybe they can push the woo ideas on you. They can push like the woo messed shit on you that you've believed the first little bit of it, and here like that's the next level of ratchet of believing the unbelievable. So yeah, a lack of knowledge. So if you didn't even recognize the person, how can you have a conversation? You'll see people who don't talk at all, and they've long since given up, blah, blah, blah. We all know the basics of conversation, or we should. But the thing is, I get the impression that they would receive people who know all of this stuff for themselves and have their own ideas about them, but are in such a state of extremis, or have something in their life that's going on, some kind of an emergency, or just so much in a state of despair that they're willing to give themselves over to this whole new life. Especially if I think the love bombing for somebody in that situation would be particularly damaging. So here we go. The arc triangles, as promised. Yeah, so there's like in the 1980s version of this book, they have an arc triangle on the cover, and somebody's like kind of flying with it, or like, yeah. So you will find upon applying communication formula in daily life that your ability to communicate will increase, and with it, your reality level. So you have like a metric of reality that you need to increase, and you'll be, yeah, that's right. I'm at 70% reality today. A man is as well as he can communicate. Okay, fine. The communication reality, and affinity can be seen in the form of a triangle. So yeah. So your affinity, and you're going to communicate because you like the affinity, and that will increase your reality, which will, oh wow, there's more stuff that I like about this, and I communicate with it, and then reality, oh, we're spinning real quick now. Yes, arc is just understanding. You just, everybody get on the arc, on the arky. So you'll find that as you get better into better communication with a person, your reality and affinity for that person also gets better. So as you learn about somebody and speak to them, you understand more about them. And so again, Scientology stands as an intermediary between you and all basic social interaction, and they can define it in their own way. And if you believe that definition, then you can live through it, and then you're really a Scientologist. What's off? Yeah, damn. That's lame. So this holds true for your entire environment. The better you communicate, people around you, more real. Yeah, it's probably about a half second off at this distance. I haven't figured out how to fix this over long streams, 2 hour streams. I think the only way to do it is to reset it. But um, yeah, I'm going to try to figure out ways to battle that. I found that that was true in my last music live stream. Okay, so for them will be, and the greater your understanding will be, the world will actually start looking brighter. Life will be more livable, work more workable. Miracles start happening when you know the laws of communication. Miracles. So everything's better. Your understanding, your arc triangles get better and better, and you understand more. So you figure out stuff and you understand more. But why does Scientology need to teach you that? You already learned that. If you walk into a Scientology building, you've already learned that, right? And but as a kid growing up in Scientology, you might know you might not know that you were taught anything without the aid of L. Ron Hubbard's writing, for sure. But all of these things exist outside of it. Um, so, 2 rules for happy living: be willing to experience anything, anything, anything. Be willing to experience anything. Okay. Now, being open to new experiences, that's one thing, right? But making some kind of a statement like that, you're like being willing to setting yourself on fire, being willing to being in a murder suicide pact, being willing to, like, come on, being willing to experience anything that's going to make you happy. That sounds like a kind of phrase. Now, I forget who said it originally, but this reminds me of, don't be so open minded that your brain falls out. Okay. Yeah. No. I know it's ARC. I'm just indicating the triangle there and just calling ARC. It's an acronym. You could call it ARC. I'm colloquially calling it an arc triangle. And so don't mean to confuse anybody. That is not, it's not canon. It's not canon. Yeah, damn it. Sorry, Pearl. Yeah, you said that 4 minutes ago. Okay, I see. Okay, cool. Here I am back. Sorry, y'all. Yeah, not arc triangle. ARC. Yeah. Affinity, reality, communication. And then they put a triangle. So, and yeah, okay. So, 2 rules for happy living: be willing to experience anything. And then number 2, cause only those effects which others can easily tolerate. Um, yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, they're saying be willing to experience anything, and that will be like be willing to experience like shaving the freaking paint off of a damn boat and scrubbing my boat with a toothbrush and like working a gazillion hours a week for no money and like putting your children into slavery. Experience any damn thing because we gotta save this planet. So and maybe you get to go to space and be like a space god in space at some point. Maybe. I don't know. So, cause only those effects which others can easily tolerate. So, okay, experience anything incoming, but like, dude, play by the rules. Read the room. Read this room. Read every room. And here's some books to read the room. Read our room because you're only going to be in our room anymore. Cause only those effects which others can easily tolerate. Experience anything but paint within the lines. You don't know what's going to happen when you go outside of those lines. Yeah. Oh, sorry, Dylan. God damn it. Yeah, I know. Like with muriatic acid, is what uh, Laura said that she had to use with the toothbrushes in the bathrooms. I'm so very fucking sorry that you actually did this shit. Um, but yeah, all of the other make work jobs, all of the other RPF gigs, um, all of the bullshit. Just get ready to experience any of that crap. But don't give us any guff. Rule 2: cause only those effects which others can just like get along with. Don't make any waves. Don't be controversial. Don't be creative. Don't be unique. Don't be exceptional. Don't stand out. Don't raise your head up above the crowd. Is what number 2 tells you. Yeah, 120 hours a week as a messenger, dude. You know that's fucking hell. Yeah. Um. I've worked close to those hours, and it nearly killed me. I cannot imagine doing it on the regular. Uh, Yikes. So, yeah, now you should have a better idea of how you could study and learn the subject, a better idea of who you are, what your mind is, a better idea of your fellow man, physical universe, a better idea of how to communicate. So if you believed half of that and you come to the end, they're giving you a pat on the back. You got it. You did all of this. Look at what you got in how many in 28 short pages. You got it because we told you did. Um, Fellow man, you got a better understanding of the physical universe and a better idea of how to communicate. This knowledge leads to greater ability in the living of a better life. This is what Scientology is all about. Scientology training and processing makes the able more able and thus brings about a better world to live in and a civilization which we can be proud. Awareness is a gradient scale. You've taken the first step. Further Scientology training and processing will make you the rest of the way to heights of awareness and ability hither undreamed of by man. Take your next step now. Contact the registrar at your Church of Scientology. Scientology has the answers. And so this is the last illustration, which is why I made it the thumbnail. Scientology never ever has the answers besides those to your own self-destruction. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you get on the e-meter, like they have you in the room, they have you in this context in which you would be way more predisposed to saying anything that they wanted you to say, and then they lock you down on that. And then they have you by that. It's crazy. So yeah, at the end. And all of these people, so we're going to this guy, you know, the all of these people, all of the walks of life are going to come in here, the young and the old, pretty much all like seemingly middle class working people, to sign up with the registrar for their new happy life with Scientology. Um, so yeah, that is really sad. It's a sad state of affairs. Um, that this has been allowed to continue as it has. That it's still registered in the United States as an official religion. Because it is, in my estimation, not anything like it. And even if it were, still their practices are criminal uh, by any stretch of the imagination. Yeah, definitely, Dylan. I will look you up. This was really cool. Looking forward to that. Right on. I will hit you up. Um, let's see. The registrar picture was before women were allowed to wear pants and Mexicans had to wear a poncho and carry a guitar. Yep, pretty much. Yeah, back in the day when women, you're gonna have to get that permission to get that credit card. um, yeah, back in that kind of a day. Um, yeah, yeah. No, the registrars, seriously. So all of this is just a long-winded ad to get you to this point where you're giving them actual damn cash for your brokenness and answers to dig yourself out of whatever ruin they've indicated for yourself. Um, it's the whole thing front to back, and every I think every one of these groups, every self-help group that tries to do this, and especially the ones that show themselves to be a religion, and generally those ones are some subset of Scientology. So I think Aston, what is it, the foundation, and Nexium, and um, no, it's not. What is it called? That business one that came out of Est, Pearl. You know what I'm talking about. Um, the worst version of the science of being and the art of living ever written. Yeah, Twyla Luna, absolutely. Yeah, the worst. The least informative, the one that would turn you around the most, that would give you the bad impressions of how to self actualize. Self actualize by giving yourself over to us, body and soul, and signing up for more of us undoing the rational parts of your mind and any instinctual connection you have to your animal person. We're going to remove that too. So, landmark, thank you. Yeah, that's right, not foundation. Like Isaac Asimov. Yeah, landmark that came out of Est. That's still going, right? Landmark's still landmarking, right? Let's see. Yeah, it's just crazy. And so let's see. This is the 80s edition. I'm not going to go through it right now. But there are two 80s editions and there's a 90s edition. This is one of them. And so you can see, let's see, we'll get to it. The illustrations are much finer. But the concepts are the same. The concepts are the same, but they're done maybe with a little more flair and a little less idiocy. It's still bad concepts, just executed maybe better. Yeah, right. You lost friends to landmark, and they're still in. So yeah, that's awful. Yeah, of course. Yeah, they're still around, and they're still having a negative effect on people in the world. Well, y'all, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for hanging out with this person and going over these ideas and having a really great conversation. Yeah, Dreamscape, Twyla Luna, Gail. Let's definitely Dylan. Corn was up in here. And let's see. Martha was with us. That was beautiful. AZ Crimson and Rika and Nash, Hellboard. Thank you all for joining me on this first one where I'm going over this stuff and just having a little reaction, a little overview, giving my impression of what these things are right off the bat, and trying to start any kind of conversation with anybody out there about what their impressions are. If they've, yeah, certainly. The idea is if something like this has happened, if you have any experience with these kinds of ideas working in another way through some other cult or through some other organization, and trying to knit together all of these things, like Joseph Campbell showing, the similarities between the mythologies. Yeah, thank you very much, Dreamscape. So, yeah, thanks for the conversation. Thanks for the interaction. Looking forward to doing more of this, and I've got a bunch on the boards, and I'll see you next time. Be good. Tend that garden.